2, 1.
Test the levels, we good? Everybody good? All right, well, welcome. First, I want to thank my colleagues who are here standing behind me. Thank the media for coming out today, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I am Vice President Kevin Carrico, represent District 4 here at the Jacksonville City Council. And 8 days ago, this body passed a historic piece of legislation, Ordinance 2025-0147, the Jacksonville Illegal Immigration Enforcement Act. This bill gives more tools in the toolbox for JSO to keep our community safe, because the growing trend of violent crimes committed by illegals is here. Due to the failed border policies of the Biden-Harris administration, this is a real issue of concern in our communities and a real issue of concern for me and the colleagues who helped me pass this legislation. Everyone standing behind me, including myself, has a sworn oath to protect our public and keep the public safe. This bill helps us to do that. The mayor also is sworn by that same oath, which is why I'm strongly urging today that the mayor sign this legislation into law. With that, I'll ask one of my colleagues, Past President Freeman, to come give a few remarks. Past President.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Council Vice President, for getting us together and to share the importance of today. And today seems to be a big deal. Obviously, immigration is one of the top issues that is facing our nation this day. And you see by 2 press conferences, it must be something of importance to Jacksonville as well. But let me be clear. This bill was not filed to hurt people. In fact, I see it as the opposite. It was filed to ensure that government fulfills its top priority, which is to keep its citizens safe. This legislation is in line with the mandate that voters placed on us as leaders in the last election cycle, where immigration was one of their top issues. President Trump was elected and has a mandate to seal the border. Governor DeSantis and the legislature, they followed suit. Jacksonville needs to follow suit and support the president and the governor, and let's give JSO, the men and women of integrity, who run to the fight, always run to the fight when many of us are running away, the tools that they need in order to keep the citizens, the hard-working, tax-paying citizens of Jacksonville, safe. I want to thank you for your time today, and I would like to call up Past President Ron Salem.
Thank you, Past President Freeman. I do want to speak a bit to the opposition that has come out against this bill for the past 6 weeks. We've had radical leftists come out here to spread fear and intimidation and misinformation about what this bill does. You've heard about ICE sweeps at elementary schools. You've heard about law enforcement officers racially profiling people. You've heard about orphans being left from their parents. None of this is happening. None of this is going to happen. But you have to wonder, where's all this fear coming from? So I would ask you all to reflect back on our own mayor when she was in London, Donna Deegan, and the comments she made about comparing President Trump's border policies to Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler, and concentration camps. That kind of fear-mongering is spreading vile and dissentiment against a bill that is really here to design to keep our community safe. So with that, I'll ask our immediate past president, Ron Salem, to come forth and give a few remarks. President Salem, past president.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for the opportunity to speak today. I have a unique situation in my life and my family and how they reached this country. My grandfather came to this country in the early 1900s and fought in World War I. My parents came over in the late 1940s separately. My mother came on a ship from the Middle East on a 3-week journey in order to get to Ellis Island to become a U.S. citizen. My father's children came over. One of his children fought in World War II, one fought in the Korean War. I've had numerous cousins that have come to this country in the 1970s and 80s from the Middle East, all coming through Ellis Island, all coming over the right way. I have a cousin presently who married a Jordanian citizen in Jordan and is having to fly back and forth because he cannot get her into the United States. It will take approximately 2 years to get her in. It's difficult to become a U.S. citizen. It should be difficult to become a U.S. citizen. And that's the way it should be. I've discussed this bill with many of my relatives, many of them immigrants themselves, and the response is consistent. It was hard to become a U.S. citizen, and everyone needs to come to this country the right way. This bill is consistent with federal and state law, and I personally want to support Sheriff Waters in enforcing this bill, and I would encourage the mayor. There's an expression on the council: when it's time to vote, you got to hit the red button or the green button. In this case, Mayor, I encourage you, either sign the bill or veto the bill. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you, past President Salem. There's been opposition, but there's been a lot of support. I want to speak to some of that support. As you know, President Trump made it a mandate in this country to protect our borders and has set the challenge to local municipalities and states to help enforce those policies. Governor DeSantis and the Florida legislature took a decisive step recently to adopt these policies here in the state of Florida. In fact, the governor has praised this local ordinance on X and thanked us for passing and taking courageous steps that we need to do to keep our community safe. We've got support from our sheriff, TK Waters. We've got support from the Republican Party of Florida. Letters of support from the FOP. And a special letter that I received from State Representative Cayenne Michael. And I would ask right now that her husband, Mr. Robert Michael, come stand next to me. Many of you know the tragic story of Representative Michael. She's what you call an angel parent. Tragically lost her son, was killed by a twice deported illegal immigrant, and has made it her career and her focus and her passion to make sure that this doesn't happen to any other family. So I want to thank you for standing with me, and I want to read a couple quotes from the letter that Representative Michael sent to my office in support. Dear Councilman Carrico, I'm writing to express my unwavering support for the Jacksonville Illegal Immigration Enforcement Act, which is an important and timely piece of legislation. As a Florida State Representative, I commend you for your leadership in introducing this initiative to support our law enforcement agencies in the battle against illegal immigration. This bill demonstrates a strong commitment to the safety, security of our community, and it aligns perfectly with the work we are doing at the state level to address the growing challenges of illegal immigration. She goes on to say that the Jacksonville Illegal Immigration Enforcement Act reinforces the commitment of both Jacksonville and Florida to enforce immigration laws and maintain public safety. With the support of Sheriff Waters, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and other local law enforcement, this legislation will significantly contribute to the safety of our residents by addressing the presence of undocumented individuals in Duval County. So I thank her, and I thank everyone else who has supported this, and I go back to addressing why we came here, to urge our mayor, or to demand our mayor now, to sign this bill into law. Stop playing politics, and let's do what's right for the safety of our citizens. Thank you for standing with me. Thank everyone else for standing with me. I'll take a few questions. I know you have somewhere else to go.
Vice President Carrico.
Yes, Mr. Stofan.
We've heard some sort of general statements from the state's attorney general warning local officials that they need to stand up and do the right thing in these scenarios and support law enforcement's ability to enforce illegal immigration. Do you believe that the mayor risks suspension from office if she vetoes this bill?
I stand on the principles of the bill to keep Jacksonville safe, supporting JSO. What the Attorney General does, he's got the power to do that. So you saw the letter, we all saw the letter. I think he made his case pretty strong that he supports the bill, and I also do and urge that the mayor signs it into law and not veto it.
Mayor, if the mayor does veto it, what are the next steps for you? Do you see another plan in place, plan B?
Again, we support her signing the bill and not vetoing it. If it does, then it comes back to this council. We have a chance to override it, and we'll go back through the legislative process if that's what happens.
Based on the vote on this legislation initially, it was 12 in support, which would be one shy of a veto override supermajority, assuming all council members are present. I mean, do you see an opportunity to sway one council member if this legislation is vetoed?
I don't sway other council members, Mr. Stofan. I think you know that. Every council member has their own vote. If someone disagrees with the bill, but maybe they agree that this body is elected to represent the people the same way the mayor has and wants to stand by a decision this body has already made, then I would support them changing their vote and overriding a veto. But again, I guess we'll find out a little more about that at the press conference at 1 o'clock. I'll take one more. Mr. Barrowline, do you have a question?
Quickly, obviously, one of the criticisms is it's duplicative. Can you talk, Kevin, about what this law allows the sheriff's office to do specifically that it cannot do right now in terms of being able to work with federal authorities?
Thank you for the question. The bill supports our local law enforcement by giving them more tools, such as the fingerprint scanners, to help identify those who have already committed a crime to see what their status may be. And it creates local penalties right here in Jacksonville that makes this bill the strongest local ordinance that's ever been passed in the country on illegal immigration. So we'll stand by it. I thank all of you for coming out, and you guys have a good one. Thank you.